Today on CityCast Denver, Pete's University Park Cafe closed on November 9th after more than 30 years serving the DU neighborhood, joining the many beloved diners the Mile High has lost in just the past few years. But beyond being an affordable place to eat, diners are also places where people connect and find community. In honor of this recent loss, we're revisiting a conversation I had last year with my friend, poet and educator Susie Q. Smith, about the shared humanity found in these spaces that seem to be disappearing from the Denver dining landscape. Oh, and stick around to the end of this episode to hear my conversation with our sponsors at Blue Sky CBD. Today is Thursday, November 13th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Susie Q. Smith, welcome to CityCast Denver.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I can't believe this is the first time I'm saying that to you. I've thought about you so much in making this show, and I'm so glad that this is the moment we get to talk.
Me too.
Because this is something that the topic is very dear to me, and you wrote this gorgeous piece about diners, and I was like, we have to talk about this. But so recently, I noticed that the Denny's on Alameda and Santa Fe had closed up shop sort of out of nowhere, and they left a note on the door. They didn't really say what happened. I actually called Denny's corporate to try to find out. I could get no information. And it was just, I was thinking a lot about Denny's had become this sort of last resort diner for me in the last few years, but it meant a lot to me as a kid. And I would love to hear from you. You wrote about this a little bit, but what was your relationship with Denny's?
My relationship with Denny's, particularly high school.
Yeah.
High school was really significant. That was one of the places to hang out. So it was Perkins, Denny's, Village Inn, IHOP. There's one Denny's that I would hang out in high school that's still open.
Which
so
one?
That's amazing. The one Florida and Havana.
Yeah.
Still there. Not many others.
No.
So that's...
Mine was a Village Inn, and it was torn down in Cherry Creek,
Okay,
north,
yeah. I also
randomly.
spent a lot of time there. Yep.
And then there was a Denny's on Leetsdale that we used to go smoke at in high school.
Yep, that one's gone now too.
So,
and the Perkins on Colfax and Colorado Boulevard. Also, that was my primary.
Yeah.
And that one's also gone.
it's so crazy.
It's a bank, and then it was a different bank, and now it's a boarded up bank.
That reminds me of the fate of the Denver Diner, which was particularly stinging to me. That place played such a pivotal role in my whole life, and then to have it turned into a bank just felt...
It's a slap in the face in so many ways.
It's hard to explain, and that's kind of what I want to get into is like, you really, in this piece Toast World that you wrote for Denver's magazine, you describe these, I think what folks would call a third space so well. What is it about a diner? What did a diner the purpose serve for you?
I think the diner was important for so many reasons. One, that it was affordable, right? As teenagers, we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of places that were safe for us to go and be and exist, particularly late at night. And now I do wonder what spaces exist for young people late at night. As a 16, 17-year-old, right, when you're out till 10, 11 p.m., right? There aren't a lot of places that are safe to go where it's where you have some sort of adult supervision and you're in public, but you can still be an independent person, figuring out kind of who you are. And I think for a lot of us, and I was hanging out, when I was a teenager, I was extremely goth and, with hints of punk. And I would say that was the bulk of my friend group. And a lot of those kids who weren't necessarily welcome in a lot of other spaces, we found each other in those spaces. And a lot of kids who had been kicked out of their homes, a lot of kids who were runaways, et cetera, like who didn't have a lot of money, but could spend $1 on coffee and hang out for many, many hours and be safe in a space that was open all night or pretty late. So that gave us a safe space to exist. And the coffee shops were important as well, right? When we think about like the Muddies and the Paris on the Platte and the Market and all of these, and the St. Mark's and all the other places that we went. But those places cost more money.
They have fancier coffee too.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, this is where we saw espresso sort of for the first time.
Exactly.
Kind of thing,
so you needed,
you diner cup.
Yeah, and they needed you to spend at least $5 to hang out there. Right?
Which again, we're talking the mid 90s.
Exactly.
You're a teenager. That's
right.
Like, I made
$5 is what you have for the week.
Yeah, I made $4 an hour at my first job.
Yeah, exactly. I made $5. Pizza Hut, was balling out. But that really, really mattered. And there were a lot of times, like building relationships in those diners too, where you could have, a dollar or two. And if we didn't have enough money to tip our servers, we found ways to work with them and do side work, to hang out for several hours, to sort of apologize for taking up so much space.
And
they just let us
I
exist.
rarely remember those waitresses. Mostly they were waitresses at Paris. Sometimes or Muddies, you would get a dude for sure. But I don't ever remember feeling pressure from them or sometimes when there was like 15 of us and everybody ordered water but one person, they would be like, come on, you guys.
Right.
Like, come on. But for the most part, it felt like they were sort of watching over us a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely felt like they were kind of these bonus elders that would, and sometimes come sit and hang out and chat with us and give us life advice and tell us stories. And, we really did become friends while we rolled silverware and, married ketchups.
I loved that part of your piece, just the image of watching teenagers help with side work.
Sometimes you don't have any money, but you really want French fries,
Yeah. And I don't know. What is, that was such a visceral part of your piece for me. But you talk a lot in this piece about the foundation or the function of this space for you as the artist you are today.
Absolutely.
What did the diner serve for you to help you become the Susie you are today?
It was a place where I could go and write and drink copious amounts of coffee and be left alone, right? And for many hours. If I wanted to just go sit in a little corner somewhere and write for a long, long time and not have anyone bother me, the diner was a place to do that. And it wasn't fancy. There weren't a ton of distractions, but I could still be in public and present with people. There's a lot to observe if I decide to, but it was a safe place away from everyone else. And so, before I ever had a residency or retreat, right? Perkins was great.
Perkins was your poetry residency,
right?
As a teenager,
absolutely. So when you need to get out of the house and not be with your family, and then of course later, then I lived with roommates, and so when there's a lot going on in your household, and that's not necessarily the best place to create because you need some space from it. It was a place where I could go spend very few dollars and be for many hours.
Yeah. You have a daughter. I know she's in her 20s now, but where does she go, or what have you heard anything from young people? Because in this piece, you're kind of searching. Where do kids go now? What do they do now? Do you know what young people are doing these days to find that place that you found?
The internet is where they go. That's where they go.
That's a good point.
And that is a little tragic, I think, that they don't have a space to be together in person. I think there are a lot of social skills being redeveloped, reconfigured. And it concerns me for sure that they don't, particularly for the ones who need to get out of their house, right?
When they need some separation from their house. Maybe their house is chaotic in some capacity.
And so for the ones who are not necessarily in the best home environments, like where do they go and where do they hang out? And if teens are not hanging out outside of their homes, that makes it really challenging, I think. And so where are those spaces? And those are the questions I have, right? There are very, very few places for young teens to go just hang out and be people.
Especially in the evening.
Exactly.
I think, because I think we know, I just remember we would hang out sometimes on the backside of the Cherry Creek Mall, or we would go to Cheeseman Park. But it was always, there was a security guard or there was a police officer or somebody telling you that you weren't supposed to be there. And diners were a great place that you could go. And especially that in between time when you're 18 or 20, you're not that the bars are a supplement, but at least, our social lives maybe started to revolve around a club or a bar. But at that age, there was nowhere else to go but a diner.
Right. Where else can you hang out? There's no place you're welcome.
Right.
And so thinking about, nighttime activities for young people, right? Like every place has a curfew. You can't hang out at the park all night.
I got a curfew ticket for trying to hang out at the park all night in Cheeseman Park.
Right. And rec centers close, right? Libraries close. Like, so so thinking about affordable spaces for young people to go just be young people together. I think that's what is lost.
This episode is brought to you by the Denver Botanic Gardens. Experience the magic of the holidays with the Blossoms of Light at Denver Botanic Gardens, celebrating its 40th year. Walk through a mile of immersive, luminous light displays, which run nightly from November 21st through January 11th. Plus, enjoy holiday treats and warm drinks available for purchase at Offshoots Cafe and the Hive Garden Bistro. Oh, and Blossoms of Light is celebrating 40 years with a birthday bash, one night only on December 3rd. Enjoy themed cocktails, cupcakes, cookies, and roasted nuts. Carolers performing through the evening, plus free Holospecs glasses to view the lights. Also, watch a 4-year-old wear those glasses. The Holospecs blows their minds. Buy tickets now for all of the sparkling action happening during Blossoms of Light. Tickets must be purchased online in advance. None will be available at the door. It's a seasonal must. You got to do it. It's a Denver, it's like, I love Denver traditions. This is one of the best Denver traditions. Kids love it. My mom, who's a grandma, loves it. Paul be loving it. Paul and Megan love it. Get tickets now at botanicgardens.org. That's botanicgardens.org.
When most of us want to learn a new language, it's not because we're dying to memorize grammar tables or ace a quiz. It's because we actually want to speak it out in the real world with real people. And that's what Babbel is great at, getting you there fast. Hey, it's Michael Zibiak, Chief Revenue Officer here at CityCast. My daughter's a senior in high school, and after graduation, we're taking a father-daughter trip to Spain. And right now, my Spanish is, let's just say, very high school level. Shout out to Senior Patty from Sayasa High School. You tried. When we're in Spain, I'd love to do more than just ask where the bathroom is. I want to be able to chat with locals, order tapas, and actually connect, not just read the menu and point. So I'm starting with Babbel. It's all about small steps, big wins, and it's super easy to fit into my life. Honestly, with how busy things get here at CityCast, I love that Babbel's bite-sized, 10-minute lessons fit right into my day, between meetings or over my morning coffee. I'm excited to pick up some real-world Spanish before we go, so we can experience Spain like locals, not tourists. Doesn't that sound better? Right now, Babbel's got a special deal for our listeners. Get up to 55% off your subscription at babbel.com/citycast. That's BABBEL.com/citycast for up to 55% off. Rules and restrictions may apply. Gracias and adios.
You talk about a lot of different diners throughout the eras of Denver that you've lived here in your piece, but I wonder, was there a favorite? Did you have a favorite diner in Denver?
Oh, my favorite was absolutely Perkins on Colfax and Colorado Boulevard.
That's so funny.
I'm from Park Hill, so that was the closest to the neighborhood.
Proximity, right? Yeah.
So that's where I spent the most time because of proximity. It was a block away from my middle school that also is now torn down. So,
did you go to Gove?
I did.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
It's a parking lot.
So it's a parking lot now. Yeah. And then the Perkins is now a boarded up bank. So it's an interesting thing to watch, right? And all this is a block away from Denver Children's Home. Mm-hmm. So it's all interesting to watch this sort of blight occur in the process of in the name of development, right? And what it's becoming. And I think that, closing schools is another thing that I'm keeping an eye on, right? Because that's something that,
happen.
Exactly. Because when there's a school, then it limits the number of liquor licenses you can have in a space, right? And so closing a school also allows more commercial liquor licenses to be possible, right? So I'm looking at the long-term plan for that corner and what's possible. Yeah.
Because it's not just that it's disrupting where kids are going to school and the community they have around it, but what happens after that school closes.
Exactly. And what that neighborhood becomes.
So, again, like I said, you have a daughter, you've worked with young people. What do you think Denver needs or could be doing right now to better serve them? Maybe it's as simple as opening a diner?
Really, and being welcoming to the teens who come in, right? Finding ways I think there are so many different co-working spaces now, right? And when we think about that, and that's not accessible to anyone,
it costs
to everyone.
money to walk in the door there.
Right. And it's not a place to just sort of hang out, right? And so I think about, so I think what would that look like? A co-working space, but that is free and for teens, and that allows some level of supervision. And it doesn't even have to be necessarily fully free, right? It's not that they won't spend any money.
Right, but it's different than you're paying hourly to be at a co-working space versus walking into a Denny's and you're paying, now probably $2 for a cup of coffee.
Right. Right. And we do still have, right, some wonderful coffee shops, right, that are still happening and still holding space for people to hang out and just exist that don't cost $1 million. But those are fewer and fewer every day, right? And so many of them, and I think, like the Starbucks of it all has done so much damage in that space as well, right? And really forced so many of those to close. That I think that's one thing that we really need to do is support the local spaces that support us, right? Particularly, I'm thinking about Whittier Cafe, Gypsy House Cafe, St. Mark's, right? Like all of the ones that are still holding strong, like we need to hold them together as well.
Yeah. What do you think Denver is missing when we don't have diners? What else are we missing beyond those spaces just existing?
I think we're missing people, right? I think that it's been feels like this war on poor people, right? The rapid gentrification of this city has been really, really transformative culturally. I think about the way that I evolved as an artist. Not only did I use the diners to create, right, but then also the coffee houses were so important to us, right? To me and all of the poets and musicians, right? That was something that was very normal as a teen to just sort of go to your nearest coffee shop and say, hey, can we have an open mic here on Tuesdays? And they were like, yeah, right? Like you can't do that with a Caribou coffee. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Although my friend Katie used to book noise shows at the Starbucks on 16th Street Mall until I think they stopped her from doing that.
That brings me a great deal of joy.
Yeah. It was amazing. I wrote about it once. I remember being like, this is phenomenal. How are they doing it? Oh, they're just doing it until they get stopped. But I agree with you. It's not something.
It's not built for that. And
at
corporates
all.
certainly would not be pleased, right? And thinking about, and that was how we sort of developed together, right? And built community and found each other again and again, right? We're through these little coffee shop networks, these diner networks, and we're like, okay, this is where we're all going. And building together, right? And building that collective. And I think that being an artist from Denver, there's a reason our community is so interlocked, right? Because we had to know each other. We were such a small community, right? Like the only way that anyone was coming to our shows is if we come to each other's shows, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we also learned together and grew together. And there's this really, really beautiful ecosystem, I think, that we're losing because people are more and more disconnected, right? People are not in relationship with each other. And there's still there are some great nonprofits that are supporting some of this work to continue to build relationships and cultivate that. But I think a lot of it was so organic then, and we're really losing a lot of that.
The organic nature is a great point because, again, like you said, there's some great nonprofits that work specifically with young people. There is program. I know Youth on Record does like an open mic night. Those things are wonderful, but they are outgrowths of the era that we grew up in. But I think the point you're making is like the organic nature of running into that friend that you would have never met from Aurora,
right,
because they came to see their friend perform,
right,
or just like meeting another person who is a poet. And maybe you're from a group of people that are musicians, but you're the poet. How do you meet other poets? You have to have that organic meeting place, that third place,
right,
that intersection of humanity where all kinds of people can meet. Because that's the thing I love about diners too, and I think about a lot is the Denver Diner was so crucial for me as a teenager because we would cruise up and down Colfax, but you'd see cops in there, and punks,
right,
and news people, and politicians and nurses and people getting off work from hospitals, and everybody was sitting at tables next to each other. Where else does that happen? Not often.
Right. And particularly when you think about the nature of the diner and the coffee shop, right, and this sort of cafe society, the only thing to do there is to talk.
And it's one of my favorite things to do in the whole
And just
world.
being in conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so much of that is being lost. So many of those organic conversations. How many times were you with friends at a diner and then you start a conversation with someone at the next table and the
Or they
table over there,
overhear
right?
you.
And then you're like, oh, this thing. And then all of a sudden it becomes this big group conversation, right? That just happens organically out of that, and building relationships in that way too. So you're not only there with who you're there with, but you're there and ending up in all kinds of conversations with people you never would have talked to otherwise. And I think that is something that we're losing as well. It's just really being in conversation with people, right? And I think that part, thinking about like the Denver Diner is a great example of how many different kinds of people were present in that space. And I think about how divided we are as a city, but also, of course, as a nation, as a world, right? And how much of that is because we're so far out of dialogue, right? And how much we're not in relationship with each other. And it's very, very easy to hate people you don't know, right?
Or that you don't talk to face to face.
And that you would never see face to face, right? And this is something that the diner's allowed for, that people who wouldn't normally hang out are just together. And you are seated close enough that you're hearing each other chat, and then you become part of each other's lives in some way.
that magic of chance. The again, the face-to-face thing I think is huge. Like you're saying, like when we talk to each other online, it's not, I don't want to say it's calculated, but like I write a response and then you write a response and then I write a response and you write a response. And when we're talking in person, there's more room for things to evolve, or it just, I don't know. It's such an intangible thing, but I'm thinking now about all these moments I had where these conversations became explosive, or I learned something amazing, or that's when I knew that person was really my friend. And it was because we had this space to sit and talk to each other.
That's exactly it, right? And I think about too, like all of the venues, right? And performing, like that's one piece of it, right? But being able to sit down and talk and hang out, that's when you get to like understand who that person really is and really build relationships. And that's what we're really missing now, I think.
Especially even after a performance, right?
Right. Then we would all go to the Denver Diner or the White Spot or the Denny's or the Village Inn, et cetera, and hang out for hours and drink coffee.
Yeah, and hang out and talk about the show, that either the show we went to see or the show that we were performing in or the show our friend was performing in, to just like to sort of download like how that went, what happened, and then what's next.
Right.
Well, Susie, this was really lovely. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And now, check out my sponsored conversation with the folks at Blue Sky CBD. Hey, it's Bree here with Dr. Dorninger from Blue Sky CBD. Hey, doctor.
Good morning.
Good morning. So before we get into all the products and routines, can you walk us through what healthy sleep actually looks like? Like what's happening during REM and deep sleep, and why does consistency matter so much?
So what happens during your day is your whole body gets super inflamed from everything, from the diesel fumes you breathe in during your bike ride, to detoxifying your own hormones, to stress, to your boss yelling at you, to the workout you missed, to the overtraining you did, to the sitting you did. And at the end of the day, you are full of inflammatory cytokines. And what sleep is supposed to do is release melatonin and restorative growth hormones to help antioxidize, deflame the body, and literally rejuvenate, regenerate, and resuscitate all those cells that have gotten damaged and beat down over a long, hard day's work.
I feel like many of us are lucky to even get like 5 hours of sleep without it being disrupted. And I just wonder what's really behind that. Like, why can't people fall asleep and stay asleep anymore? Is it like stress, screens, all the above?
All the above, and sometimes overstated. The number 1 and 2 reasons for not falling asleep and staying asleep is problems with steady oxygen and problems with steady fuel. Especially at altitude, sleep apnea is so underrated. And if your brain perceives low oxygen, it freaks out, spikes cortisol and adrenaline, known as norepinephrine, epinephrine, and kicks the melatonin growth hormone healing party out of your brain. The same happens with blood sugar, whether it's some Krispy Kremes you had before bed, or too much red wine, or you've been eating seed oils all day and your blood sugar's off. You can also wake up your brain. And it's simply steady fuel, steady oxygen to make sure you have a non-panicked, restorative night's sleep.
Well, let's talk about the products. How does CBD or CBN help people like feel calmer or fall asleep faster? Like, what's going on in our bodies?
Well, the first thing is everything I'm going to tell you about is about cannabidiol isolate. It is not full spectrum hemp. It is pure CBD that all the literature I'm going to quote is on. And CBD, cannabidiol, is an uplifting productivity molecule. It helps you feel cool, calm, collected, focused, and relaxed. And that is part of the sleep formula to really bring down that inflammation after a long day. And that's about 25 milligrams of pure cannabidiol in the sleep gels. The CBN sets up decompression. So it allows your brain to uncouple from a busy day, the to-do list, and it says, hey, let's shift to GABA, your cool, calm, and collected molecule, and settle down. Now, THC and a glass of wine do the same thing, but they come with blood sugar problems at 3 a.m. that wake you up.
So for anyone thinking about trying CBD or CBN for sleep, what should they know going in? Like, do you have any tips or guidelines for someone who may be using this for the first time?
I'm a clinician at the end of the day, and it's about applying things to improve patient outcomes. And what we see is that it can take up to 2 weeks for the sleep gels to work. So you have these patients who go, oh my gosh, the first night I took a sleep gel, which is 25 milligrams CBD CBN, I fell asleep. It was incredible. And I woke restored. Some people, it takes up to 2 weeks. If you're on your second or third night of one Blue Sky sleep gel, then I tell people to trial 2. And what can happen is 2 a night for 2 weeks should absolutely show up on your iWatch and your Oura Rings and your smart devices. So the last tip is if you wake in the middle of the night, it's okay to take another sleep gel. If you have dogs or pets or kids, no one's going to get that injured from 25 milligrams of CBD or CBN, but I say keep it in the packet with a little scissor, cut the scissor open, take another sleep gel at 2, 3 in the morning.
Could you tell me a little bit about the quality of Blue Sky?
Yeah, so I was headhunted to work for Blue Sky as Director of Research and Development. And to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about cannabidiol, and patients would come in and ask me, as a leader in natural medicine, their thoughts. So I actually took the job to force myself to study all the cannabidiol literature. And I chose Blue Sky because it's a 0 THC, and I'm not anti-cannabis, but we wanted a non-THC product that government workers can use, that firefighters and police can use, who also need a good night's sleep and will give you less tickets.
Especially,
wake rested. Yeah. And it is 0 THC, third-party tested for purity and potency, which means the milligrams are 10% above or below on every final batch. And that what's in there is in there. It's actually just cannabidiol, MCT oil, and gel cap. And then lastly, cost per milligram. You're not going to find better value than the cost of the sleep gels for 25 milligrams CBD CBN.
That's awesome. Well, Dr. Dorninger, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
So listeners, check out bluesky-cbd.com and use promo code CityCastDenver to receive 30% off. We'll have a link for you in our show notes as well, so you're just a click away. Thanks for listening. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell your friend who loves diners about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later. Okay, I feel like I sound so weird.
Guess what? CityCast has some news. I'm Sean McPherson, the host of CityCast Twin Cities.
And I'm Jane Sihu, and I'm the host of CityCast Seattle. Hey, if you have a friend in one of our cities, can you text them for us?
Yeah, something, simple like, hey, how's that rash doing? And do you listen to podcasts? Because I have one you're definitely going to like. After that, tell them that CityCast has helped you become more informed, more involved, and more connected to your amazing city.
We're going to help that person you know in Seattle who's been trying to make friends.
And we're also going to do that for that guy you only kind of knew in college who moved back to the Twin Cities after graduation.
Don't we all have that guy?
Yeah, and usually that guy is named Todd.
So did you text them yet?
Jane, let's just wait a minute. We don't want to rush anybody. We'll do a little small talk. How's everything going in Seattle?
Beautiful, beautiful. Fall leaves popping. How about Twin Cities?
Today, beautiful and sunshiny in St. Paul. Okay, Jane, I bet they are done texting by now, and I just want to remind them, hey, you, please tell that friend to subscribe to CityCast Twin Cities or Seattle, wherever you get your podcasts.
Or if you don't want to text them and you're really just on Instagram sending them DMs all the time with funny videos, send them a DM of our latest videos. You can find us at CityCast Twin Cities or CityCast Seattle on Instagram. Thanks.